everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my top pieces of advice that I have learned from my first year studying architecture. For those of you who are thinking of studying architecture in the future, hopefully this video will give you a bit of an insight into what studying the subject could be like at university. And for those of you who are about to start architecture school in September, well done for getting an offer and getting in. That's a huge achievement. I hope you're really excited to begin this journey. Studying architecture has honestly been one of the best years of my life, and I cannot wait to continue with the rest of the course. And hopefully this video should give you a little insight into student life before you head there, so you can be prepared for when some of these situations arise. So without further ado, let's get into the tips. So my first piece of advice is to budget for rotoring pens. Here I have my own pen collection, and honestly, the amount of times I have dropped a rotoring pen on the floor and broken the nib, or the ink has dried up, or it's gone missing, I cannot count. These pens are very expensive, so I would really recommend, if you can, possibly picking up some spare parts on eBay for cheap before you go, just to save yourself the stress of your pen breaking the evening before your deadline and you be unable to finish your work. So in first year, most of your drawing is done by hand on tracing paper with the drawing board with rotoring pens. So these come in a variety of thicknesses of the nib, and it's likely that your education provider will prescribe a set that you need to purchase. So these are the types of pens that I'm talking about. They come in a variety of nibs. So my next tip is to be prepared for field trips in all weathers. My university took us to the Yorkshire Dales with about 2 days notice in the pouring rain, so I highly recommend that you bring an old waterproof, some suitable shoes. My university actually provided these shoes, which were really useful. Also, a suitable backpack that you can store with you all of your equipment whilst you go off on any of the places that your university takes you on for spontaneous field trips. As whilst they're very fun, they can be a bit stressful if you're not prepared. So my third tip is about technology. So if you have access to an iPad, an Apple Pencil, or any similar other drawing tablets, I would highly recommend that you bring them with you to university. I have saved so much time doing sketches and paintings on my iPad compared to doing them by hand, as every time that I make a small change and alteration to my design, I can just erase that layer and redraw over it, saving the rest of the image. So my next piece of information for you is that if your university is anything like mine, the printers will get incredibly busy the day or two before a final review. So for our reviews, we have to pin up all of our work on A2 pieces of paper and present to our classmates. So this means that thousands and thousands of A2 sheets have to go through the plotters, which understandably causes them to run out of paper, run out of ink, have too many queues, crash. And I've had so many experiences being there up till 2 in the morning, sitting by the printers for hours. So the first time that you head to the printers to print off your work for your first review, I really recommend that you don't do it when you've got something coming up like a sports commitment straight afterwards, as I think it's exceptionally unlikely that you'll actually make that fixture. Also, it's probably worth going with a couple of friends so at least you can sit and chat whilst you're waiting for your work to come out. Another thing for you to know is not to waste any of your money buying any circle templates, letter templates, square templates, anything like that. Here I've got a little piece of one of mine, and honestly they snap all of the time, and when they're at the bottom of your bag with all of your heavy water bottles, lunch, models, glue guns on top of it, you'll have no chance of them surviving the journey. My next tip is to purchase a glue gun if you don't already own one of these. The glue dries so much quicker than when you use Oohoo, and they're fantastic for making process models for showing your tutor's idea. And alongside this, I'd really recommend you purchase a separate cutting mat for using with your glue gun, as if you're anything like me, using a glue gun can be quite messy, and I ended up getting glue all over my cutting mat that's really annoying when I'm trying to make professional models afterwards on the same mat. Another tip is that you use so much tracing paper. The amount of times I've had a little smudge on my sheet, it just honestly gets so annoying. And it's quite expensive and difficult to get hold of at 2 in the morning when your review's the next day. So I would really recommend, if you can, is buy a big roll of tracing paper. My next tip is to bring with you a couple of shoe boxes, put models in. That's because if you try and carry anything fragile backwards and forwards from your studio to your room, it's bound to break in the wind or the rain. But by putting in a shoe box and then you can put that in a carrier bag, it makes carrying models so much more convenient, and it will protect the model as well. So my next tip is to purchase a pack of blue tack. This is so incredibly useful on the morning of a review when you're walking in and something breaks on your model, or the night before and something falls over and you just don't have the time or the energy to glue it all back together. This is because what you can do is use a tiny bit of blue tack just to hold the pieces of cardboard or whatever you're using together, and your tutors will never know. My next tip is to get yourselves some coloured pins. So as you can see, I've got pastel pink ones. And that's because on review days, there'll be thousands of pins going around the studio. And if you want yours to return to your pot at the end, you'll only be able to guarantee this if yours are a different colour to everyone else's. Otherwise, you'll find that by the time you've done 3 reviews or so, you have absolutely no pins left. So my next tip is to have a rummage around your kitchen before you go to university and have a look for anything that could be useful for model making. So examples of these could be cocktail sticks, lollipop sticks, anything like bamboo skewers that you often have lying around at home, but when you're living on your own, you don't actually have these in your bedroom, funnily enough. And it can be so annoying when you have to make a special trip into town just to get hold of a couple of cocktail sticks to represent wooden pillars in your building. So my next tip is to bring with you a lamp with a movable head if your university room doesn't come with one. That's because in architecture you'll often be doing daylight studies where you have to move the light to represent different parts of the day and different times of the year. Now, if you have one with a movable head, you'll be able to fix it on the ground and just adjust the head, giving you 2 free hands to be able to take the photos of your model. I would so recommend that any of your non-architectural student friends, you let them know your schedule and your deadlines. That's because it could be a random week in their term, but that happens to be the day of your submission. And therefore you're going to be very stressed at this time, you're not going to be wanting to go out the day before. And by telling them this information, they're going to be so much more understanding of your situation, and they're just going to be able to support you better. And similarly to this, I 100% recommend that you become friends as quickly as you can with as many people from architecture itself. So your studio mates are going to be your key support network throughout the year when it comes to architectural problems. Whether you've dropped your pen at 2 in the morning, run out of tracing paper, your model has been battered by the wind walking back to studio, your laptop has crashed in the middle of your night, your iPad drawings didn't save, anything like that, they're going to be the best people to ask for help from, as they're in exactly the same situation as you. Architecture is such an incredible degree. It's really opened my eyes to new things in the world around me and really changed my perspective on how people and buildings interact. The degree covers such a wide range of topics and I've thoroughly enjoyed studying it this year. So if you're looking to study architecture in the future, or you've got a place to start in September, please do leave a comment down below asking any other questions you may have about studying architecture, and I would be absolutely thrilled to reply to those for you. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and subscribe down below for more exciting content from me. See you soon.